I'm sitting in my car, parked across the street from a boutique hotel I can't afford, watching a blue dot on my phone sit perfectly still. The blue dot is my wife. She texted me an hour ago saying she's still at the studio. But the GPS tracker I stuck under her car last week says otherwise. That little glowing dot hasn't moved from this hotel parking lot in over 2 hours. Let me rewind a bit. I'm Matt. I've been married 5 years to a woman who could probably charm a shark into cuddling. Her name is Rose. My friends called us solid. Boring even. The couple you don't have to worry about. We had routines and our inside jokes. We had matching robes from that one trip to Palm Springs we swore we'd never become too old to reminisce about. And then things got weird. I noticed little behavioral glitches. A few missed calls. Her phone suddenly never left her hand, and always face down. She used to chuck it anywhere. Then came the perfume. Rose doesn't wear perfume. Said it messed with her sinuses. But out of nowhere, I walk into the kitchen one night and boom, she smells like one of those fancy Nordstrom counters you avoid because someone's going to spray you against your will. I made a joke about it. Something like, trying to seduce me mid-laundry night? She laughed with me. Then said, "Oh, I'm seeing clients now. Gotta be presentable." Fair. But it didn't sit right. A few days later, I found a receipt in the trash. 2 entrees, expensive wine. Not one of our places. Not even in our neighborhood. I didn't say anything. Just stared at it like it was a clue in a true crime documentary. I sound like a Lifetime movie husband. But my gut's good. It usually fires up when someone's feeding me grade A bull, and that night, it wouldn't shut up. So I did something I'm not proud of. I bought a GPS tracker. It was $40 on Amazon. Slapped it under her car while she was inside ordering poke bowls. I told myself it was probably nothing. I'd check it a few times, prove myself wrong, and laugh at how dumb I was being. Except I wasn't wrong. First night, she said she was working late. Tracker showed her parked in a residential neighborhood, far from any client we've ever had. Second night, hotel. Boutique style, high-end, not the kind you go to for a nap between meetings. She was there for hours. And yes, I checked. She wasn't grabbing dinner or passing by. Her car was still. No movement. No excuses. I watched that little blue dot for 2 full hours, parked across the street, lights off, engine cold. I waited. Around midnight, the blue dot moved. She left the hotel and drove straight home. I let her get inside. Then I followed. When I walked in, Rose was curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, watching some brain-melting reality show. "You're back late," she said, not even looking away from the TV. "Yeah. Got stuck at work," I replied. She smiled. "Me too. Studio's insane right now." I nodded. "You hungry?" She shook her head. "Had takeout." I sat on the arm of the couch and looked at her. This woman I shared a bed with. A mortgage. A life. She looked normal, relaxed. Maybe a little tired. She had no idea I'd been sitting in the dark across from that hotel for 2 hours, wondering when my marriage had turned into a stranger's bad screenplay. But that was the night it flipped for me. I just said, "Cool," and kissed her forehead like nothing was wrong. Because if Rose wanted to lie to me that smoothly, I was going to see just how far she was willing to go. Last time I checked, you don't go to a hotel with your work enemy. But that's exactly who Rose was sleeping with. The guy's name was Alex. I only knew because she mentioned him at least twice a week for the last year, usually while ranting over a glass of wine. He's arrogant and full of himself. Thinks he knows design better than me, but his idea of a color palette is beige on beige. That was Rose's favorite line. Every time she came home from the studio fuming, Alex was somehow involved. I knew his name before I knew her assistants. So imagine how it felt when I finally got a good look at the car parked next to hers outside the hotel. A black BMW X5. Custom wheels. I didn't confront her. What was I gonna say? Hey, I was stalking your car, and guess who else I saw being a dirtbag? I wanted confirmation. Something solid. So I did what any rational man with too much free time and unresolved rage would do. I created a fake Instagram profile. Found a stock photo of a decent-looking guy in sunglasses and a denim jacket. Gave him a normal-sounding name. Set the bio to something vague, consulting travel espresso addict. It's interesting how many people follow back if you like 3 of their photos and drop a fire emoji in a story reply. Alex did. From there, I'd met him something casual. Told him I worked in architecture, admired his work, and wanted to connect. He responded in under 5 minutes. Ego on legs. We talked for a few days. I kept it light. Then I dropped the bait. You seeing anyone? Asking for my sister, she thinks you're hot. His reply? Kinda complicated lol. Dating someone but it's low-key. She's in a relationship so we keep it quiet. I asked for a name. He wouldn't give one. Just said, she's not ready to leave her situation yet. Her situation is a marriage, Alex. At that point, I wanted to drive over to his condo and express myself using a golf club and a power drill, but I had a better idea. I messaged him from my real account. Hey, coffee tomorrow? Need to talk. He agreed. Probably thought it was about business. We met at this trendy little cafe downtown. I wore a hoodie and didn't shave. He showed up in a blazer and Italian shoes, smelling like success and cologne you need a payment plan for. We made small talk for a bit. Then I leaned in and said, I know about Rose. The color drained from his face like I'd pulled the fire alarm in his brain. He blinked. Opened his mouth. Closed it again. You know she's married, right? I asked, voice calm. Not accusing. Just, done. He stared at me for a few seconds before whispering, You're Matt? Gold star, I said, sipping my coffee. To his credit, he didn't lie. Didn't try to gaslight me or play dumb. I didn't know. I swear to God. She told me you were separated but still living together. I thought it was temporary. I studied him. No twitching, no eye rolls. Either he was the greatest actor in the city, or he was genuinely blindsided. She also told me you were controlling. And that you had no idea about us. I laughed. Probably louder than I should have. Controlling? I said. Dude, I didn't even know she had a second Netflix profile. He looked miserable. Like actual regret, not just, oops, I got caught, energy. We talked for another half hour. He told me they'd only been seeing each other a few months. She was the one who insisted on secrecy. And yeah, he fell for her hard. I feel like a moron, he said. You feel like one? I replied. I've been living with her. We sat in silence for a moment. Just 2 guys, both played by the same woman, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. He asked if I was planning to confront her. Not yet, I said. Truth was, I wasn't just looking for revenge. I was looking for the truth. And now that I knew what she was hiding, I wanted to know what else she was capable of. Because something told me, cheating wasn't even the half of it. I wasn't heartbroken after the coffee shop meeting with Alex. That had happened quietly in the days before. I'd already burned through that. What I felt now was something sharper and colder. Rose wasn't just having an affair. She was running a side hustle using both of us as her unpaid interns. And now that the mask had slipped, I started seeing all the cracks I'd ignored. Little things. Like the new credit card charges from travel expenses when we hadn't traveled anywhere. Or how she started paying cash for groceries, even though she used to Venmo everything. Or how our joint savings had slowly, and I mean slowly, dwindled over 6 months, while she claimed she was handling the taxes. It was all starting to fit together. So, yeah, I stopped thinking about revenge. What I wanted now was proof. Something undeniable. Something permanent. First, I needed access to more than just her car's location. I remembered we still had a shared tablet tucked away in a drawer. I'd bought it years ago to stay organized. She used it maybe twice, probably forgot it even existed. When I booted it up and connected it to the home Wi-Fi, her iMessages synced automatically. Let me tell you, nothing slaps you in the chest quite like watching conversations load in real time between your wife and the guy she's cheating with. Except, they weren't from Alex. They were from someone named Jeremy. Different contact photo, different tone, much different conversations. And definitely not a man confused about her marital status. This one called her baby and asked when she was moving forward with the divorce. So now, in case you're keeping count, we're up to 2 affairs. Alex, who had no idea I existed. Jeremy, who knew exactly who I was and didn't give a damn. This wasn't just cheating. This was an operation. I called Alex the next morning. "You're not the only one," I said. He didn't sound surprised. "I figured," he muttered. "She always vanished for weekends I couldn't explain." I told him I was going to confront her. But I didn't want to just yell and leave. I wanted her to see everything fall apart in one shot. I wanted her to feel that same cold detachment I'd felt, watching her lie to my face. "You in?" I asked. He hesitated for less than a second. "Yeah," he said. "Absolutely. Here's what we did. I created a new number. Burner app. Pretended to be Jeremy. Not hard, I copied the tone, the emojis, everything. Sent Rose a message. Weekend plans still on? I found a place. Private, romantic, you'll love it." She responded with a heart and something gross I won't repeat. I sent her the address to an Airbnb I'd rented under a fake name. A cute little cottage just outside the city. Remote enough that we wouldn't have neighbors, but close enough that she'd drive there without hesitation. She took the bait without a second thought. Friday night, she packed a bag. Told me she was going to a design retreat. I told her, "Have fun, babe," and even helped her load the car. Then I drove out there before she did. Alex met me nearby, parked 2 houses down. We coordinated timing like we were running a heist. His job was to walk in 10 minutes after she arrived. I went in first. Set up 2 hidden phone cameras. One pointed at the door. One angled at the table. I wasn't looking for drama. I was looking for documentation. I wanted her to see how deep the lie went. And I wanted her to know she'd just walked into a truth she couldn't spin. She arrived just after 7 p.m. I heard the car before I saw it. Her laugh before she knocked. I opened the door. Her smile froze mid-step. She blinked like she didn't recognize me. Her hand still holding the strap of her overnight bag. Behind her, Alex stepped up onto the porch. He didn't say a word. The moment hung there, heavy and awful. She looked between us. Realized exactly what had happened. Then she did something I didn't expect. She smiled. A soft, practiced smile. Like she was about to explain how this was all a big misunderstanding, maybe try to flip it around on me. But I didn't give her the chance. I stepped aside and said, "Come in." Rose walked into that Airbnb like she owned the place. She put her overnight bag down and gave me the same calm, curated expression I'd seen 100 times, the one she used when pitching a high-end client. Composed, polished, and hollow. Alex stood near the window, arms crossed, his jaw locked. I stayed by the counter, phone in hand. We didn't say much at first. The silence did more damage than yelling ever could. Rose glanced around, registered both of us, then eased into the chair like we were having some awkward family intervention, not detonating her carefully managed double life. She said something vague, something smooth. The kind of phrase meant to steer things away from substance. But I didn't take the bait. I tapped play on my phone and let the recording do the talking. It was her voice, from 2 weeks earlier, a voice memo I pulled from our shared tablet she forgot was still synced. She was speaking to Jeremy, the second guy. The one she hadn't mentioned to either of us. Telling him how easy it was to keep both Alex and me in the dark. Bragging, really. She described how she'd guilt Alex into loaning her money. Said I was emotionally asleep and wouldn't notice if she emptied our savings with a ladle. Her words, not mine. When the recording ended, the silence in the room turned heavy. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were the bank statements, forged documents, and screenshots of the personal loan applications, all submitted under my name, without my knowledge. Carefully dated. Labeled. Organized like evidence in a courtroom. She flipped through the first few pages, didn't blink. No shock, no apology. Just a little sigh, like I'd inconvenienced her by finding out. She tried to pivot. Claim it was complicated, said classic, I can explain. But there wasn't much left to explain. Not after 2 affairs, a trail of lies, and financial fraud with my name on it. Alex looked like he'd been punched in the soul. That made 2 of us. He'd believed her. Just like I had. Thought he was part of some tragic love story when really, he was just another bullet point in her file. She tried redirecting blame, shifted focus to him, then back to me, then to some imaginary middle ground where none of this was technically her fault. But when I pointed to the small red light blinking on the camera hidden on the shelf, her face finally changed. Panic. Just for a second. That flash of real emotion she usually kept behind designer lipstick and charm. She stood up. Claimed the recording was illegal. Accused Alex of betrayal. Anything to change the subject. None of it landed. She grabbed her bag. Made for the door. I told her not to come home. She said I couldn't kick her out of her own life and house. I laughed. But she had walked out of it a long time ago, I was just locking the door behind her. After she left, Alex didn't say much. He just sat down and stared at the folder like it might start burning in his hands. He apologized. Quietly. I nodded. We packed up. Drove off. The next morning, I filed the paperwork, froze the accounts, notified the bank. Sent everything to a lawyer who didn't blink once when I explained it. Rose called 3 times over the next week. Voicemails, cold at first, then pleading, then spinning. Said we needed to talk like adults. I blocked her. She followed it with a letter, 3 pages, printed and mailed. Blamed me for embarrassing her. Said I'd overreacted. Said I should have protected her. There was no mention of the cheating. She'd ruined it all before I ever touched a damn thing. The part that really stuck with me wasn't the affairs or the money. It was the control, how tightly she thought she still held the steering wheel, even after crashing the car. She thought Alex would keep orbiting her. That I'd keep being passive. That she could play both sides of the game forever, because no one would have the spine to push back. But what she never accounted for, what people like her never account for, is what happens when quiet people stop tolerating. We revenge. Everything got better. I started showing up early at work. Volunteered for projects. Turns out when your personal life isn't one long gaslight marathon, you have room to focus, to rebuild. But then I got served. Rose was suing me for emotional distress. I read the claim twice, then once more just to be sure. According to her lawyer, I had orchestrated a public humiliation that caused lasting psychological harm. There was no mention of the affairs. Or the fraud. Just vague language about malicious intent. I laughed. Right there in the parking lot with a frozen pizza in one hand and my ex's legal meltdown in the other. She wanted money. That's what this was about. One last try to wring something out of me before I disappeared completely. I got to work. I called Alex, told him everything. Asked if he'd testify. He said yes before I even finished the sentence. Then I pulled together the receipts, screenshots, bank records, messages, audio recordings, even a timeline of events. I handed it all to my lawyer, who looked like she'd just found gold buried under a landfill. The court date landed on a rainy Tuesday. Rose walked in wearing a beige power suit like she was about to host a TED Talk on victimhood. Her expression said, "This is beneath me," but her posture said, "I need this to work." I didn't look at her. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it simple. Laid out the facts. Let the evidence speak louder than any opinion could. I was clear. Alex followed. Told the court how he was misled. How she used him, how she borrowed money from him under false pretenses. He looked directly at Rose, she looked away. By the time we were done, her lawyer looked like he wanted to slide under the table and disappear. The judge didn't even deliberate long. Claim dismissed, with prejudice. No appeal. Walking out of that courtroom felt quiet. Like finally closing a door that had been swinging open for too long. 6 months later, I launched a mobile inspection and consulting service. With Alex. Helping people avoid getting scammed by shady contractors or overpriced remodels. We called it Second Look. It worked. Turns out people appreciate someone who's already lived through the worst-case scenario. And somewhere in that process, I met her. A client named Erin who ran a local nonprofit and needed help navigating a construction project. She was smart and direct. Called me out when I over-explained things. Laughed at my sarcasm. Didn't flinch when I told her the short version of what I'd been through. We started grabbing coffee after meetings, then dinners. Then weekends turned into weekdays, and eventually, I stopped checking the rearview mirror.